Do you want to learn how to count time accurately? I'm Janan Derso, and let's get into it. What if counting time is as easy as watching nature? For example, the tortoise shell here illustrates time with 13 big markings and 28 small ones around the rim of the shell. It is one of the first calendars as it illustrates 13 moon cycles in a year and 28 days in a month. Many women understand this cyclical rhythm, but it's more than feminine timings. Profound health can come from tending to things in a lunar cycle because it's a calendar for personal growth. This is one way to count time accurately, and I do this in a moon map linked below. Now, counting time in relationship to space is a method of making sense of life, the world, and one's place in it. I get it because that's what I'm doing here too. So, if you want to count time based on somebody else's timings, you might get turned around. And one aspect I find so interesting is how most people lived near the equator, if not all. And sundials were really straightforward to count time at first because of their position to the sun in the sense of balanced days and nights with sunsets and sunrises. Noon was revealed because 1 hour after high noon, you could see the sun shadow. Sundials made logical sense as a way to track time at first. Sunset was around what we would call 6, making that 6 hours. Then they counted backwards from high noon to account for the previous 6 hours. Now, with no electricity, dark nights, people didn't really work and move around as much. They went to sleep, rose before the sun, and in order to get the most out of each day. But now we have electricity, people work at night, and sundials have become garden ornaments. However, maybe there's another cue here. Ethiopia also uses daylight. They didn't have electricity until more recently, and they weren't colonized, so the external information was less relevant to their intact culture. They count from sunrise to sunset, instead of high noon being the reference point, like with the sundial. So 1 o'clock is 1 hour after sunrise, 2 o'clock, 2 hours after sunrise, so forth and so on. They worked the fields in the daylight. They didn't need to count time in the darkness. Because their solstices aren't as pronounced, being close to the equator, the longest day may be close to 13 hours, but still close enough to 12 for this to work. It's a pretty minimal difference between those standard 4 gateways of time at spring equinox to winter solstice. Here's their sunrise times for you to see in a standard clock. Another difference is that they have 13 months. So each month of 12 is 30 days, not 28 like the turtle's lunar calendar. Remember, this is a solar calendar. They account for those extra 5 days, or 6 in a leap year, in the 13th month called Pagme. Now, this short month aligns with a time for purification and preparation for their new year, which in the Gregorian calendar translates to September 11th or 12th if it's a leap year. So I find the 13th month so revitalizing that I implement this practice into the Sun Map calendar. Again, want to join me? Because that is the next way to count time accurately. Let me give you one more difference because this one is the deepest of them all. There is a 7.5 year discrepancy between the Ethiopian calendar and the Gregorian calendar. Why? Because they calculate the birth of Jesus to be 7.5 years before Western Christianity. So his birth, whether or not it was on Christmas, was honored on January 7th in their calendar. They say he was born 5,500 years after Adam, as prophesied. This Coptic calendar is very similar to the one of Alexandria, the previous capital of Egypt. Their time was based on the Coptic Christian origin story. Let's go a little deeper because there was a planetary alignment that also happened in the year 7 BC. Is this related? The scientist Johannes Kepler in 1603, much later, but that's when he observed that Saturn and Jupiter in the Whales group, also known as Cetus, become very close together and appear as one star. This is when a Messiah would appear, right? When there was this bright star, when Saturn touches Jupiter in the Whales group. And so according to that statistic done by Kepler, he noted that that occurred in 7 BC. I went and checked it out. Here's a picture of the sky. It is on the 28th, but of November, but it would still be in that same kind of window, but just wanted to show you this picture. So are these planets that aligned with Jesus's birth in 7 BC a key to the story? Is the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in the Whales group, or Cetus, the divine alignment that indicated Jesus's birth? Cetus, the whale, plays a role in holding the template of one perfect love. We could potentially restore the sacred template of spiritual oneness when we include Cetus in the zodiac. Now, this is another video, so I'm not going to go all the way down that rabbit hole, but I do want you to join me in questioning time. Ask who started the whole belief system that was crafted this time. Do you want to follow it? And is it even accurate? Is the bright star Mary followed the most significant navigation device in our calendar's history? The modern calendar is based on the birth of Jesus, after all, which may have been 7.5 years earlier than the Roman Catholic Church calculates. How does this affect you on a day-to-day workflow? What if you could count time accurately by using nature's cues again? When you unplug from Gregorian time, amazing things could happen. What if time is the measurable effects of cosmic energy directed through gravity in your efforts? That's what I do in the element map. And when you restore your connection from nature to divinity, you bridge the way you use time to love, not fear. I use all of these calculations in my membership. It's called the Peace Out List. I've got a book coming. If you want to use natural rhythm calendars to translate Gregorian time into accurate time cued by nature, check me out. My name's Janan Derso. There's some links below. Peace.